Hey, how are you? I'm Chris Robin, aka at Detroit Beastie, here with Team Riser Fall to talk about, Tuesday night football. Seattle heads to LA to take on the Rams. Washington heads to Philadelphia to take on the Eagles. Yeah, week 15 is still going. They're hanging on. Stick around and I'm going to comb through both games in this one. Hey, hello, and welcome back. I am Chris Robin, aka at Detroit Beastie, here with Team Riser Fall to talk about, Tuesday night football. Can you believe it? Christmas is less than 5 days away this coming Saturday on the 25th, as it's always been since the start of time here. But it's a Saturday. We get a nice little 3-day weekend. But before that, we have a doubleheader of football today. As I've said, Seattle heads to LA to take on the Rams. Washington goes to the city of brotherly love to take on Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles. Before we get into all that, and trust me, there's a lot to digest here, a lot to discuss. I won't keep you here all day, although I could, and I would imagine there'd be like 3 or 4 of you hanging on watching this video. And for those of you that would, I thank you. But let's talk about Team Riser Fall briefly. Go to the website, right? Use promo code NBA. You'll get 33% off your first month of premium services. I mean, it's the holidays, right? It's Christmas, and I'm telling you now, I have yet to talk to anybody at Team Riser Fall about this, but I have this sneaking suspicion there's going to be a New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, New Year's month kind of special here. So just write this down, NBA, and that's the promo code, and boom, we are off and running. Now for the main event here. There's 2 actual main events here. Seattle at the Rams, and look, here's the thing. So I'm going to be jumping around. I've been thinking about it, because I have notes for each game for a single game slate, but I know a lot of folks, me included, I'm not really into single game slates. I like playing the smaller ones, and this is perfect. There's 2 games, as I said. So I guess what I'll do, if you'll stick around with me and hang for about 15, maybe even 20 minutes, I'll go through each game specifically, and then I'll kind of tie it into a bow, and I'll mix and match from players from both games. So let's start with this one. Seattle at the Rams. Over-under is at 45.5 points here. Seattle 5-8, 4th overall in that division. The Rams 9-4 in second place, only behind the Arizona Cardinals, which again, my Lions beat, and here it is, Tuesday the 21st, and Arizona has yet to kind of produce the final score. It's kind of a running joke here. They just won't tell us what the score of that game is. But those of us that know, me included, we know the final score in that one. So Seattle at the Rams, 5-8 for Seattle. And do you remember a couple weeks ago when they added Adrian Peterson? Pete Carroll says, we got to make all these moves to win now. Win now what, dude? You're out of it. It's done and over with. Get your ball, get your chips, and you go home. You split. So I would imagine, and in all honesty, this game is more important to the Rams than anything, right? People, Seattle Seahawks fans, you can say all you want, moral victories, or it's going to propel us into next season. Seattle Seahawks are in trouble long term, but that's not my problem. I want to talk about this game here. Matthew Stafford hosting the Seattle Seahawks, who are 12th overall against opposing quarterbacks here. Stafford 16-5 on FanDuel, $12,200 on Draftkings, 24 completions, looking at about 290 yards. Maybe to me, 2 touchdown passes is his floor here. Will he get one in on the ground? That would be a wild parlay. Stafford to score a touchdown with his legs. But seriously, all joking aside here, Stafford could get to 3 touchdowns, maybe even 4 here. But I digress. Let's talk about Russ Wilson. I've said it before. Whenever I'm wrong or act like a jerk, I'll apologize or I'll admit I was wrong. If you've been following my content or with Team Riser Fall for a while, you'll notice that I was harsh on Russell Wilson after his thumb pin or whatever he did to his thumb. He came back in that first game, Monday Night Football. He looked awful. But hey, I was wrong. He picked up the pace here. But against the Rams in LA, who are 6th overall against opposing quarterbacks, he's just not moving the needle for me tonight, specifically with the quarterbacks in the other game here. But Russ Wilson, 14 grand on FanDuel, $11,000 on DraftKings. I have Russ, 19, maybe 20 completions, 21, 22, maybe, right? I just don't know here. And you're looking at about 230, maybe 240 passing yards in this one. 1 touchdown pass, and I do believe he finds the end zone on the ground here with his legs. But let's move on. Now, when we talk about about the Rams running backs, a lot of folks have been asking me this, or just asking the world in general this. What do we do with Darrell Henderson? What do we do with Sony Michel here? Well, here's my thing. I have Sony Michel highlighted in my notes. Let me give you the prices, and then I'll go on my spiel. It's my own personal opinion here. Sony Michel, $10,000 on FanDuel, only $9,400 on DraftKings, and then Hendy Jr., $11,500 on FanDuel, $9,200 on DraftKings. And get this, Seattle, they're 31st overall against opposing running backs. So I believe the Rams have a field day on the ground, but that's just it. Mekhi Sargent, is he still in the mix here this evening? But Darrell Henderson, right? He was on the COVID list, off the COVID list. I believe he was dealing with some sort of lower body injury. Nothing crazy, just some sore legs, something like that here. But look at the Rams here. As I said, 9-4. They are in second place with a bullet here. They will be in the playoffs, you'd like to think here. And for that reason, McVay and Stafford, they have, big time Super Bowl aspirations here. So in a game that they can win standing on their head, I'd like to think, why would they burn out Darrell Henderson here in this one? I firmly believe, and correct me if I'm wrong here. If I am wrong, I will say I'm sorry tomorrow here. But I believe Sony Michel gets most of the work in this one because the Rams want to be fresh as a daisy, at least with Hendy, as they go into the playoffs here. So why give Hendy a ton of work in this one? Because the Seattle rush defense is so soft. You just pound the ball with Sony Michel. You just hike it up to Cooper Kupp here. So to me, in seasonal formats, it would be a tough move, but I'm not completely fading Hendy in this one, but I would prefer Sony Michel tonight in DFS formats if that matters. And then when we talk about the Seattle running backs, it's all about Rashad Penny. Finally, this first round draft selection, is he starting to pay off? It's only been 1 or 2 games, but that's something to hold on to when we're talking about a single game slate on a Tuesday, late December here. Rashad Penny, $11,000 on FanDuel, $8,600 on DraftKings. Rams, they're okay. They're 16th overall against opposing running backs here. Penny, 15 carries in this one, looking at 60 to 70 yards in this one. I do think he finds the end zone one way or another here, and a couple receptions, nothing crazy. I'm guessing around 10 to 12 yards in the air, DJ Dallas, Adrian Peterson, not really on my radar in this one. And when we talk about the wide receivers, this one's juicy. Cooper Kupp, $16,000 on FanDuel, $13,000 on DraftKings. And I know I shouldn't look far ahead because this is DFS, it's daily, but next week, Cooper Kupp has one of the sweetest matchups I've ever seen in my life against the 32nd overall ranked Minnesota Vikings pass defense here. But Cooper Kupp against Seattle right here, right now, they're 11th or 12th against opposing wide receivers. Does it matter? I have Kupp 12, maybe even 13 targets. Might be nuts, but solid. 8 receptions in this one, well over 100 yards. I think he can move the needle at about $1.15, $1.20 in this one. A touchdown is a lock. Get those parlays in, get those anytime touchdowns in. And then we go between Odell Beckham Jr., Van Jefferson. If you notice, Beckham is 10.5. Van Jefferson only 10,000 on FanDuel. And on DraftKings, Odell Beckham is $7,200, and on DraftKings, Van Jefferson Jr., $7,800 here. So Chris, what do we do with these two dudes? Well, if you've ever DM'd me or talked and we've chatted here, I like to build duplicate lines here, right? It'll have, Sony, Penny, Cooper, and then one will have Van Jefferson. Then I'll build the exact same line, Sony, Penny, Cooper with Van Jefferson here. So that's the move. And if you want, get both of them in here, but I just don't see a game here where the Rams just go off, right, and put up 30, 40 points in this one. I have them for a very mild 21 to 24 points here. I just don't think the Rams have to do a whole heck of a lot to get it done here in this one. So mix and match, and we move on. When we talk about the Seattle Seahawks, wide receivers, Metcalf, Lockett, Freddie Swain, D. Eskridge here. I don't think Tyler Lockett is going to play. You can't really even find any projections for Tyler Lockett. So it's the DK Metcalf show, hopefully here. Rams, 20th overall against opposing wide receivers here. Metcalf, $12,000 on FanDuel, $10,000 on DraftKings, 8-9 targets, 5-6 receptions, 75, 80 yards here. And if we're lucky, we'll get a touchdown from DK Metcalf. I hate to go out on a limb on a broadcast like this or on a video that's seen by all real, but seen by a couple hundred folks. I'm not going to go nuts and 10,000 people here. But I hate to say, DK Metcalf, I don't think he's going to score a touchdown or one way or another. I think he is. He's been hitting a rough patch as of late. And what is it? Does it have to do with Russ Wilson? Does it have to do with Pete Carroll? Does it have to do with the entire attitude of the organization at this time, given the fact that they're floundering? They're only 5-8 here. But DK Metcalf, I'll have a little bit of exposure to him, but I just don't see him as a must start in DFS formats as it stands now. Seasonal formats, not even a question. Who do you have better than DK Metcalf here? But I want to mention this. As you've noticed, I've started to use a green highlighter. I'd never thought, using a different color highlighter would cause so much of a stir here, but green, it means those are my pivot plays aside from my core. As I said, Sony Michel, Penny, Cooper Kupp, all in pink. Those three are my core, but I have Swain, D. Eskridge, and even a little bit of Penny Hart here in green as a pivot. But I have Swain, 5 targets, D. Eskridge, 4 or 5 targets, and then Penny Hart, 3-4 targets. In a single game slate, I could see a case here where one of them or two of them, maybe even all 3 of them, put together some sort of game here where you're looking at 40 yards, maybe a touchdown from one or the other here. So just make sure Freddie Swain, D. Eskridge, and Penny Hart are on your radar. When we talk about tight ends, nothing to do there. Kickers, I'm good in a 2-game slate here where you have 4 teams. I don't really bother with a kicker here. And in defense, I don't really bother with them unless you're playing a single game slate. If you are playing Seattle at Rams single game slate, I would prefer the Rams. I think they get to Wilson 3, maybe 4 times and sack him down, an interception, and they're only going to give up about 20-ish points here in this one. So final score prediction with this one, Rams winning 24-20. I like it from a lot of different perspectives here, but I think the masses are going to stack the Rams, and that's okay. If you want to be different, I mean, I built a career on my DFS content and my DFS winnings on being different and digging down to the bottom of the barrel, which will be out today as well. Nice little shameless plug here, but to me, it's all about the Rams DST here in this one. Rams win, as I've said, 24-20. Let's move on to this game. Is I had to flip the page here, as you notice. A lot of green, a lot of pink here because there's a lot of little drips and drabs here in this one that I enjoy. As I've said earlier, Washington heads to Philly to take on the Eagles in the city of brotherly love. To be honest, there's no love lost between these teams. NFC East showdown here. They know each other well. They hate each other. It's just gone back and forth. This is as crazy as it sounds. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but this is not going to be a heavyweight fight here in this one because Washington is 6-7. Philly is 6-7. Washington is in second place in this division behind Dallas. And guess who's right behind them, nipping at their heels? The Philadelphia Eagles, 6-7 in third place. So this game has massive playoff implications, not only for these two teams, not only for the NFC East, but other teams in the NFC here. If you look at it, I heard some, this time of the season, there's all these white dry erase boards and people, talking percentages and this team is here. Well, look, if Washington wins this game, they're going to be bumped up just one spot, I believe, in the wild card here. If Philly wins, I believe Arizona can breathe a sigh of relief. There won't be too much jostling around for the Cardinals after losing embarrassingly to the Lions here in Detroit. Another dig at Arizona if you're keeping score at home. Let's talk about the quarterbacks here. Jalen Hurts, I'm so excited that he's back. Get this, Washington is dead last against opposing quarterbacks here. Hurts, he hasn't just been on vacation, obviously. He's been dealing with, I think he sprained his ankle, something along those lines. But $17,000 on FanDuel, only $12,200 on DraftKings. And look, you're not going to get 25 completions out of this guy. You're going to get around 14 or 15 here tonight for $170, 180, something like that. But where he makes his hay, 12, maybe 13 carries in this one. Hopefully, I have him for around 65 to 70 rush yards and around 2 total touchdowns, maybe 3. And I'm saying those several touchdowns here with a quarterback like Hurts, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where they come from, I guess, in a way here, because if you roster him, he scores in the end zone. Does it matter? Does it matter if he took a rocket ship into the end zone? Does it matter if he came in on a parachute to score a touchdown? It doesn't matter. So I'm looking at 2, maybe 3 total touchdowns for Jalen Hurts in this one. If I had to separate it, 1 or 2 in the air and then 1 on the ground, and boom, we'll move on. Now, what the heck are we going to do with the Washington football team quarterback situation? Tyler Heineke still got that questionable tag next to him. He was put on the COVID IR not too long ago. And at the moment I'm recording this video here, I haven't heard much. If you look at Garrett Gilbert or Jordan Ta'amu, Tyler Heineke, and Kyler Schumer, the only one you can really find projections for is Kyle Schumer. So I'm going to run with this as if Kyle Schumer is the starting quarterback here. And if you look at his price, he's $10,000 on FanDuel, only $6,000 on DraftKings. So whatever quarterback is playing, this is such a weird thing. I don't think I've ever been put in a position here to give, some shallow, hollow projections. And I don't know who the quarterback is going to be, but I think he's going to complete 20 passes for, 250. Well, I can't read 240 passing yards in this one, couple carries, 10 yards, and we'll get a touchdown or two here. So if it's Garrett Gilbert, if it's Kyle Schumer, I'm not kidding when I say this. I have major Nick Mullins vibes in this one. Nick Mullins was a nice little move yesterday until Justin Fields threw that last-minute touchdown as time expired here. But Nick Mullins was the quarterback I ran with last night, and it served me very well. But I've wasted too much time on the Washington football team quarterback of the quarterbacks is Jalen Hurts. Boom. Let's talk about the running backs in this one. Miles Sanders against this stout Washington defensive front. They're 10th overall here. Miles Sanders, $12,500 on FanDuel, $9,400 on DraftKings. I'm thinking 14, 15 carries for Miles, 65, maybe 75 yards, a couple receptions with an additional 20, maybe 25 yards here. And then we'll skate. Boston Scott, 5-6 carries. Kenny Gainwell, I'm good here. But with what seems to be in these slates like this, there's always one little nugget or one little player who he'll go into the end zone or he'll put up, just out of nowhere, just some chunk plays here. And for some odd reason, this is wild to me. I have a feeling it's going to be Jordan Howard tonight. $10,000 on FanDuel, only $200 on DraftKings. I have Jordan Howard 7-8 carries in this one, 30, maybe 40 yards. I have Jordan Howard getting more work than Boston Scott, if that's saying anything. Who knows here? But keep your eyes open on Jordan Howard. If it matters, he is highlighted in green. We know what green means go, green means pivot in my world. When we get to Antonio Gibson, that it's going to be the Gibby show here with a quarterback in flux. Who knows what we're going to get? Philly, 23rd overall against opposing running backs here. So Gibby, $14,000 on FanDuel, $11,000 on DraftKings. I'm thinking seriously, I hate to say 25 carries because how often does that happen here? But realistically, I have Antonio Gibson for about 20 carries, maybe 19 in this one, 70, 80 yards with ease here, 4 or 5 receptions, another 30 yards. So what I'm getting at here is if I could roster Antonio Gibson twice tonight in my single game lineups and the 2-game slate here, I would. Heck, I would even think about rostering Gibby 3 times in this one. Jarrett Patterson, nothing crazier. When we talk about the wide receiver, all eyes are on Terry McLaurin here. He looks to be back. No injury designation at this moment in time. Terry, $13,000 on FanDuel, $9,800 on DraftKings, although Philly, very good in their secondary. They're 2nd overall against opposing wide receivers here. But do you remember last season when we talked about Terry being matchup proof? He's quarterback proof. No matter who's, throwing him the football, no matter what the defense is, Terry's going to get his 6-7 receptions, 70 yards. I mean, that's his floor, it was last season. But this year, he's been stuttering and sputtering here. So what do we do? 9-10 targets, 6-7 receptions, 70, maybe 80 yards here. Terry is absolutely part of my core here this evening. And we move down Andrew Humphries, DeAndre Carter, Diami Brown. It's really nothing special here. But I will say for you a little nugget I've noticed this morning and even back to yesterday. DeAndre Carter has been popping up in a lot of my research, a lot of optimizers. And hey, go to Team Riser Fall. You get $20 that rolls over every week for Fantasy Cruncher. That's where DeAndre Carter's been popping up to me. And look, over the years, I've learned a few things. Trust my gut. And if an optimizer that's way smarter than me keeps coming up with the same play or the same players over and over again, I've ignored that before and watched that same player score a touchdown or 2 touchdowns and be the key to winning some big time money. So I'm saying, hey, DeAndre Carter could be worth it here. $6,500 on FanDuel, only $4,800 on DraftKings. And we talk about the tight ends, another juicy spot here. Dallas Goddard against Washington, who are 12th against opposing tight ends here. Dallas Goddard, 10-5 on FanDuel, $7,400 on DraftKings. Looking at a nice 6-7 targets, 3, maybe 4 receptions in this one, 50 yards. And I guess the kicker will be if he can find the end zone in this one. Do you believe he can, or do you not think it? I mean, that's as simple as it gets. Hey, I'm looking at Dallas Goddard. I do think he's going to score a touchdown. Boom, lock him in. I'm looking at Dallas Goddard. Don't think he's going to score a touchdown. Boom, he's out on his ass on the street here. When we talk about the Washington tight ends here, in all honesty, look, Philadelphia is dead last. They're 32nd overall against opposing tight ends here. I've had this, I'm not kidding when I say this. I try and be open and honest with all of you. I'm not kidding when I say I had a dream. I don't know if I was half asleep or just waking up this morning, but I had a dream that I had Ricky Seals-Jones and John Bates in the same lineup, and they both just tore it up, and they followed it here. So, I mean, I don't think I have a premonition. I mean, I do have a crystal ball, but I use it for, DFS purposes, and I haven't looked into it yet. But all jokes aside, Ricky Seals-Jones, $7,500 on FanDuel, only $4,600 on DraftKings, and then John Bates, $6,000 on FanDuel, only $2,000 on DraftKings. And you know me in terms of single game slates here. If you're going to play Washington at Philadelphia, hey, use Ricky Seals in the MVP, boom, John Bates in the flex, and vice versa here. When we talk about the kickers, DST, nothing crazy here. I will share my notes with all of you so you can see the end of both of these games here in terms of kicker projections, DST projections, and bam, we will move on. So to tie this thing up in a nice little bow, I have in my core Sony Michel, Rashad Penny, and Cooper Kupp, along with Antonio Gibson, Terry McLaurin, and Dallas Goddard, right? You have to move a lot of things around to get all those guys in your lineups, but use my notes, rewind the video, and you'll see a play like DeAndre Carter if you want to get him in there. You'll see a guy like D. Eskridge or Penny Hart if you kind of want to fill the void here. So that's it. Been here 20 minutes. Thank you for being here. If you've held out and hung with me this long, I mean, to be honest with you, we've spent 15, 16 weeks together so far, and I appreciate all your friendship. I love all the support. I can't thank you enough. But look, this isn't goodbye. We still have a lot more work to go. We're talking about week 17, the NFL playoffs wild card. And guess what? I'm going to be around for all of it. So thank you for being here. Make sure you go to Team Rise or Fall, like, share, subscribe, and use promo code NBA. You'll get 33% off your first month of premium services. You can breathe a sigh of relief now. After the video, be on the lookout for Bottom of the Barrel. It is Tuesday after all, and we'll be out later than normal because I wanted to come here and give you my news and notes on these two games here. But we'll get together again the same time, I don't know, Thursday, actually Christmas Day. I got some tricks up my sleeve for you and for the DFS players for Christmas Day. Until then, I wish you the best. Let's rest, relax, and watch this game. I'll see you next time.